Hi, my name is Nick DiMatteo. I'm the Executive Director for the Northeast Carpenters Apprenticeship Fund. Uh, we operate training centers in New Jersey at Edison and Hamilton, and we also provide consulting services in the management of the Mid-Atlantic training centers in Baltimore and Upper Marlboro down near DC. Uh, when I first got involved with managing the apprenticeship programs here, one of the primary tasks we were charged with was to address problems with very low graduation rates, low attendance, and poor retention rates as well. Some preliminary root cause analysis, it very quickly became apparent that the root cause of the problem was the way we were recruiting and selecting our candidates. At that time, we allowed candidates to just walk in and fill out an application, take a math test, and then they would be scheduled for an interview and go onto a waiting list. So we've taken some very aggressive steps utilizing disciplinary measures and got our attendance rates up in the 80s and approaching 90% in most of the training centers. Quite honestly, though, that's been done with some pretty harsh discipline and by eliminating a lot of the non-productive members that we were carrying on roles that weren't really coming to school or working very much. So we were groping around for a solution. We had graduation rates at best 50% in some of the centers and as low as less than 20% graduation rate in some of our centers, and retention rates were equally poor. While looking for solutions, I was exposed to a program that was being implemented in New England. This happened at a director's meeting when Tom Fisher spoke about some of the work they were doing in New England with core competencies development and interviewer training. And it sounded like he was developing a program to address a lot of the same issues we were trying to find solutions to. As luck would have it, in the process of doing that, I was involved in an instructor selection panel for the school up in Albany, the training center in Albany. At that time, New York was part of our fund. And Cheryl Lido came down to participate in those interviews with us because we were just getting started in the transition of bringing the New York training centers out of our fund and into the New England to work with the New England program. So I sat in some interviews and listened to the way Cheryl was asking questions and interviewing. We were using a questionnaire that had been developed by our HR people down here that was about 6 pages long. I never liked it. It was redundant. It was a lot of tedious questions that really didn't elicit the kind of insightful answers you would hope to get from an interviewee in a session like that. And Cheryl was asking questions that just amazed me, the way it brought information out from the candidates. And she would ask one question and I would be able to check off 4, 5, 6 of the boxes on this lengthy questionnaire that we were using. So I was impressed by the way that process worked and intrigued, and made arrangements through just wonderful cooperation and collaboration that we've gotten from Tom Fisher and his staff up there. Brought a group of our directors up on a weekend that they were doing interviews in Boston, and they were kind enough to let us sit in on those interviews and kind of observe their whole process. So we came back down here and we began to implement a program modeled very closely after what they were doing up in New England. Tom was kind enough to let us borrow Cheryl for a couple days. We designated a number of instructors and people from our team rooms and volunteers from our contractors to come in. Cheryl did a day of interviewer training with those folks here in Edison. Then she went down and did the same training for a similar group of people at our Upper Marlboro Center to become our interviewing team for the folks down in the Mid-Atlantic region. We implemented a process of 3 information sessions that we advertise and conduct here at the Edison Training Center in New Jersey. we cap entry at 250 registrations. Typically, of the 250 registrations, we're getting 120 to 130 people actually show up to participate in the information session. And what we find coming out of that information session is we get 60 to 70 applicants. What we like about this approach is a lot of people that are just fishing, a lot of people that are just curious, won't go to the bother, first of all, to come in and participate in the information session at all. So we've already screened out a lot of people that maybe heard, oh, big salaries, great benefits, but don't really understand what they're getting into. At the information session, we go to great lengths, again, based on Tom's model from New England, we go to great lengths to make sure folks understand exactly what they're committing to, what the work we do is like, what the life of a carpenter is like, as well as the pay and the benefits and all the good things. But we make sure that people coming out of that information session have a clear understanding of what commitment they're making to us and what we're committing to provide for them. Up to this point, we haven't been doing this long enough that I have hard data to be able to say we've increased graduation rates this much or retention rates that much. What I can tell you is the feedback we're getting from the team rooms, they're thrilled with what we're doing. The instructors, I get comments back because I follow up and ask, what was this latest group like? And I get comments back like, where did you find these people? Where we might interview 12 or 15 people, and out of that 12 or 15, maybe there's one or two that the interview team will say, yeah, that's not a guy we want. So we're getting a much higher percentage of viable candidates, and we're also ranking them in a way that from those viable candidates, we can pick the most likely to succeed individuals. The fellows in the team room tell me that the feedback they're getting from the contractors is exceptional, and we feel like we're off to a good start. Everybody's very well pleased. I feel like we have people conducting interviews now that have a system, have a standardized, well-documented and evolving questionnaire that they're using. And in the past, we had people doing interviewing, which is probably the most important process in our whole selection system, that really had received no training or any guidance as to how to go about interviewing or evaluating potential candidates. Now we have people sitting there that at least have had some formal training and been provided guidelines, and we know that the interviews are being conducted with some procedural form of consistency from training center to training center, from team room to team room. So hopefully over the next year or so, we're gathering data, and over the next year or two, we'll be able to compile data and really quantify what kind of an improvement we've made. But so far, we're very, very optimistic. Everybody's happy, very happy with the improvements we've made in our processes, and all the feedback we've been gotten is exceptional. So I would encourage anybody that's looking for a way to improve their intake process, take a hard look at the way they're doing things up in Boston and Milford. And it's been a great model for us, and we're feeling like we're on the road to significant improvement and well pleased with the changes we've made up to this point. Thanks for your time. Wish you all the best.